from the Pixie Dust Studio in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Welcome to the I See Hope Empowering Positive Change podcast. I am Lori Lorenz, Human Energy Engineer, and your host for today's episode, Destiny Updates with Wes Hamilton. We're talking about week 18 and radical change during COVID-19. Our co-host and featured speaker today is Wes Hamilton, Master Numerologist and Chief Spiritual Officer for Core Passion, Inc. He provides insight, guidance, and spiritual support. He reveals how ancient mathematics connects to timelines, showing us where and when to focus our time and energy. Welcome, Wes.
Thank you. Good to see you again. Get to enjoy each other on video, not in person anymore, but it's something.
Yes, it is. And we would definitely be in a world of hurt if we couldn't see each other's faces and we couldn't talk to each other and reach out somehow, because we're so social.
Yeah. We're hurting right now, but that's okay. May is going to open things up.
Yes. What is May about?
Out of our comfort zone. What?
Right. What is May in the world of timing? What's the easiest to do in May?
May is all about growth and expansion and taking some risks and trying new things and breaking rules. So there's probably going to be a few people just saying, you know what, I'm going maskless today. We used to worry about going streaking, but now it's just maskless.
We need a lot more sunscreen. Back when there was streaking, there was less problems with UV, I think.
Yeah, right. So in May, as you can probably tell by watching the news, a lot of things are opening up. North Dakota opened up everything, trying to keep the 6-foot distance, but all the stores are open again. And here in Minnesota, we got partial openings. Saw a thing on the news last night where when the restaurant do get to open up once in a while, they're now putting plexiglass walls between all the tables. Like, boy, that's going to seem kind of weird, being a room full of people with like our own little tower to sit in. So yeah, people are spending money, trying to make their place of business more germ-free, maybe COVID-free. There's going to be some surprises through this, I guess, outpouring of freedom coming up this month that's going to shock us a little bit. Probably see the consequences or the benefits of this in July, because June, probably too quick to tell, but July we'll have our, oh my God, what are we doing? So anyway, May is all about growth and expansion and trying new things. It's also a 5th month in a 4-year, which adds up to a 9. And 9s are about transitions and completions. So we're transitioning out of total avoidance into partial contact. And I think, as you mentioned, we're in week 18, which is another 9. So we got a lot of transitions happening this week. This week will be big announcements for things. I think our governor here announced we don't get to go out as much as we thought. We were going to be free on the 4th, but now it's 14th or 15th. So some surprises. It's going to be similar to going out on an afternoon stroll or maybe on the highway in the middle of winter and a storm picks up and it's high winds and an icy highway. So it's going to be an interesting ride this month. I'm looking forward to the adventure.
Yes. And, we're seeing a radical change, not just slippery roads, but people have decisions to make. Some people are just saying, that's it, I'm done. I'd been trying to make it work, it's not working. So they'll either go out of business or just go home and binge watch TV with ice cream. There's that. And then other people are going to say, I'm waiting it out. I'm not changing. I'm just going to wait until it's back to normal. So how do you deal?
I think we talked about one of my clients is got over 600 employees, is expanding some businesses into new cities this month. It was on the schedule to do it before this hit, but they're going ahead with the plans because they're optimistic and they're taking those risks that I talk about. And several other employees are saying, whoa, I'm done. I can't see where this is ever going to come back again. And a lot of those folks that I've talked to have restaurants and specialty services. So it's kind of a trick right now to see who can hang in there. Getting stimulus money, I guess some folks are likely to get some. We haven't gotten ours yet, even though we thought we should get some. We've been good people. So yeah, May is going to be a fun month for some, and a wake-up call for many. This is the awakening year. Yeah.
Well, we've all gone through pivots. If you think back on all the things you've done and you notice, well, this isn't the only time I've had to make a big choice in my life, and I've been bashing my head against the wall because something kind of faded away to nothing. But if you notice that when one door closes, another door opens, there might be some, silver lining to this cloud. There might be something trying to get our attention we didn't know was really the next big thing. This has happened to you too, right?
Well, yes, now that you brought that up, I didn't know the bug was coming, but my chart said it was time for me to be closing down my real estate business. I've had a little over 40 years. Loved real estate. Best times ever helping people buy and sell houses and growing housing developments and selling new homes and just doing all the wonderful things a realtor gets to do when they're passionate about what they do. And I certainly am. However, my chart said, you know what? You've reached the end of a cycle here in your life, and it's time to move on to something new. And I'm thinking, oh man, what do I do now? And I talked with the Muse, and she said, you've been doing a lot of those readings and coaching lately, part-time. Why don't you think about doing that full-time? Okay. So anyway, trusting the faith in the Muse.
And the Muse is your better half.
Muse is the missus that stays with me through thick and thin, Lori Palm, yes. We've been together 18 years married, and a couple of years before that, see if we like to be married. So, yeah, I totally followed my chart. Had to have the faith that I'm being led, not pushed. So I shut it down last October 1st. And coincidentally, I had started my career in real estate on October 1st, back when the Indians were just leaving the land and the pioneers were coming. So, yeah, so it was a full cycle. And now that this pandemic bug has shown up in our lives, my coaching and readings have been what people are looking for. It's like, oh my God, what are we going to do? And so I spent the morning coaching several different people from different countries, and some on the East Coast, one in Florida. So it's been really interesting how I've fallen in love with my part-time job that I think is now my full-time passion.
Excellent. So we all do have these passion projects or hobbies or things that, I used to be good at that, but I just kind of let it go. Maybe it's time to, explore and expand. I think that's what you were mentioning. Yeah.
Yeah, it's time to pivot. It really is. You're actually pivoting your destiny, and that's what the Muse and I are putting together, a plan to help people pivot their destiny, and it starts with those 6 principles that we're going to share today. The biggest challenge that I see when I'm working with people, they're, of course, like the deer in the headlights. Things are stopped or done. But this is the very first time many people have ever paid attention to themselves. And it's very uncomfortable for many. Some people who are recluses and hermits love it. It's perfect. But those people that are busy, busy, busy with kids and family and dogs and entertainment and, oh my gosh, they don't know what to do. So it's an whole new skill set, and we have to pivot from the inside out this time, not the outside in. And that's the tricky part, because only a select few people even know what I'm talking about. But to pivot from the inside, you need to get to know you. You need to build a relationship with you. You need to spend some time with you that's in silence. Listen to your own heartbeat. Listen to your own thoughts. It's one of the principles, like spend time with yourself. Like, how do I do that? I don't know how to do that. Well, I mentioned meditation once in a while. They're like, I can't meditate. Okay.
Well,
so I try to help them reframe it.
There is a freebie.
Yeah, that's a freebie. Yeah.
Yeah. The mindset pivoter.
Mm-hmm. And you have to learn to pivot it with your mindset. Oh my gosh. You know, last month was all about your mindset and paying attention. What is your mindset? And the month before that was about, if you're going to be creative, what tools would you use? So I love the mathematical process of how we grow. We learn to be creative. We look at our attitudes, and now we're looking at, oh my gosh, I got to pivot. Look out. So yeah, it's time. It's got to pivot. And I've been asking people, if you had a dream, what would you reach for? Don't know how you're going to get the dream. And in addition to the Powerball, what would you reach for? So, and some people like, oh, I've always wanted to, and others like, oh, I don't know, I haven't thought about this since high school, you know. So it takes a while to reach into the depths of our inner spirit and find out what it is.
The good news is you have a 6-step practice to get in touch with that.
I do have a 6-step practice, and the Muse and I created an amazing assessment with your help to help people understand why they would want to do something. It measures their why. It's the voice of their inner spirit. So with our 6-step practice of, I guess, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual practices, because that's what it covers, what do you have to know about your why? And Simon Sinek says, if you start with why, you'll get clear on what to do and when to do it.
Also, this is an extension of, you know, the core passion assessment work that you mentioned, but also yes, it really leverages an affirmation. So in that first step, it says, speak your affirmation daily. But the trick is, where do I build my affirmation? Can you talk a little bit about how you would build one?
Yeah, that's the one that's going to take most of the time. First of all, to put some words to what you really want. What's your desire? If you could have what you wanted, what would that dream be? So put some words to your desire. It may be desire to get back to work. It may be a desire to find the career I've always looked for. It may be a desire to live in another part of the world, because right now you don't have a place to go anyway. But it's important to have words for your desire. And then the next really big piece is, it's different than a lot of affirmations. With this affirmation is, what are you willing to do to get the desire to happen? And that's the missing piece on most affirmations. Mm-hmm. And then the next missing piece is, when would you like to see this affirmation materialize? So that's the 3-step process. What do you want? What are you willing to do? And when do you want to see it?
Yes. And I've got the example that you wrote in front of me. Do you have that one, or should I read it?
I don't have it with me because I saw it on the internet, what you created, because you turned it into a magical one from my scribble notes.
Well, I'll go ahead and read it. This is what Wes gave me. I am a passion-driven leader, learning and working daily with creating and developing my coaching and training skills into several online platforms ready to launch in the next 60 days.
Yep, that is my dream. That's my desire. And we just signed up for another online course that's going to take us through the next 6, 8 months. And we're investing in ourselves. We actually are taking our stimulus check when we get it, put it on a credit card now. But when the stimulus check comes, that's just about to the dollar what the course is going to cost us.
Well,
So we're
that's a good
investing in ourselves.
investment. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
And
an
people,
investment because if I'm going to pivot my destiny doing what I love to do, I need a new platform, and I don't even know what a platform is. So to find out how to make it work.
well, this is part of, feeling like you're worth it. And an
Yep.
affirmation can really, you know, change your vibration, right? It can really take your core and align it to what you want.
Yeah, it's really important that you actually believe your affirmation, because until you believe it, you'll just be reading it.
Right.
Gotta
Saying it
own
out
it.
loud does help, though. Oh, was it the intention experiment by Lynn McTaggart? They
Yes,
talk about that.
yes. The intention experiment, which we've been teaching the principles of that process for many years that you've been involved with. Um, the intentional experiment that she wrote about, I think in 2008, 2009, somewhere around, she did a lot of research and discovered that many scientists were working on the energy field of who we are, this vibration that we carry. They measure it in protons and electrical charges and magnetic charges, and they've actually found and discovered that we are walking energy systems, that if we put our attention or intention on something, it sends out a message vibrationally to whatever in the universe knows how to create things. We call it the cosmic kitchen. And then the cosmic kitchen organizes some energy fields, probably protons and other kinds of scientific little things. And it comes back in the form of an idea or a material entity for us. So whatever you send out comes back. You might not recognize it because it might look a little different form than you thought, but that's what the intention experiment is, that if you want something, you must announce to the world, or what we call the cosmic kitchen, that this is what we want, and wait for your order because it's being prepared. That's where patience comes in. It'll come. It always does. And as you've seen over the last probably 10 years we've been doing this, the people that are in that group, they do get their intention. They're all shocked and amazed. And most of them get it way before December. They get it with this in the summer, or usually start in January. And because of the crisis we're kind of facing right now, we're going to remodel it to anybody can jump in whenever they want, because I don't know if anybody wants to wait till January to get started.
Right. And that's
So,
the pivot your destiny redo of
yeah.
core passion intentional.
Yes, yes. It's the new improved version for everyone.
Yes. So the 6 steps are in this worksheet that people can sign up to get a copy of. If they go on ichehope.world, they can sign up for the newsletter. And if they're already on the list, they'll be getting it this week. And there'll be a download button to pick up the worksheet with the 6 steps and a little place where they can work on creating their affirmation.
Oh, good, good.
Yes.
Good. That'll be helpful, because if we can put words to what we want, that seems to be the tricky part.
Yes. Oh, putting words to what you want. This kind of comes back to the story of the Muse, because when I met her, she had really stepped into the role of being a muse, because
Yes.
Lori Palm has a tendency to impact the people around her, but not in a terribly obvious way. Her sister said, "You just go and have coffee or do lunch. What is it that you do?" And I remember you telling me a story about you found a movie that really described what Lori Palm does. What was the
Yeah.
title again?
We were watching a movie called The Muse. And at the end of the movie, I said, "Lori, I think that's what you do." She's like, "What?" So we watched it again. And then we watched it the third time. So we're talking 5 hours later. And she finally said, yeah, that is what I do. I never knew what I did. And now I can tell my sister I'm a muse.
Yes, and muses are important. And this is a
Yeah,
pivot.
there's only
Going
9
from,
of them. There's only
that's right. Going from just doing lunch to being a life coach and a business builder and, you know, all those things. That was a pivot, and that was very internal, right? Finding your identity.
Yeah, that was huge for her. And then she was in Washington, D.C., I think once with you and a couple other times. You met a group of women leaders, and they all went to, where was that?
In Greece?
Where the Muse, Greece. Yeah,
Yes.
that's where the Muse words are, that's where they live in Greece. So what it helped her do is connect to the energy of the Muse. And I think she took some pictures of different buildings that had the 9 muses displayed on them. So it was a fun trip for her, and she got to connect with some of the ancient cultures, and they had some special guide that took them into old ruins and did some ceremonies in there, and she really took ownership of that muse thing. She's living it full time.
Well, you know, we're all on our own awakening journey. And this is the best time to do it because you have hopefully a little bit of extra time that you are not commuting anymore. You're not doing a lot of time in the stores, etc. Invested in yourself.
Right. Yeah, if this keeps up too much longer, I think we're going to just get down to one car, because we go to the store once a week. We, meaning I, go to the store once a week. The Muse says, I'm not going out there. It's bugs out there. So I probably put on 50 miles in a week instead of 150 to 200, because I don't go anyplace. So I told Lori, the Muse, maybe we only need one car. She's like, this isn't going to last forever. Keep your car.
Well,
yeah, there's a lot of things that are looking at pivoting. I mean, okay, maybe I'm going to pivot back into being a handyman because I've got some work to do in my yard and got to get my deck stained. So I used to do that before I got busy doing other stuff. So yeah, I think there's a lot of pivoting internally.
mm-hmm.
I've accepted it internally mostly. This program we signed up for is going to ask us to reach outside of our comfort zone and try some things that we would normally avoid because we wouldn't want anybody to criticize us. But yeah, it's an emotional journey in addition to a practical, mental, physical journey.
One other piece that I really like is the explore and expand of this transition.
Yeah.
And if we are in our moment and we're being very mindful and we can hang on to the joy of a moment, then as we're looking around, we're looking through the energy of joy. And what we find will be so much more rewarding.
Yeah, if you have words for your joy, which we worked on in 2019, because who knew we were going to go through this? But Joy is a really interesting book, and I think we talked about it on a different podcast about the Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu writing a book, the Book of Joy. And they spent a few weeks together talking about life and their wisdom and spirit and God. And after all is said and done at the end of the day, the best measurement tool, did you have joy today? And if you say yes, you've lived a good day.
I'll sign up for that.
Yeah.
And it's
part of the journaling is about grateful. What are you grateful for? Mm-hmm. And Lori and I have there's 2 favorite times of our day. The Muse and I, Lori, not this Lori. Our morning coffee and our evening wine. So in the morning, we call the magical beans wake us up and gives us new ideas. And the mystical berries give us our connection to everything that we're grateful for. So We have plant life in the morning with beans that wake us up, and grapes at night that puts us into a restful mode. So
That's
we
good.
use all organic things in our life.
Well, it is spring. Things are growing. They're expanding. You know, all these little shoots and things are exploring to say, where can I grow into? So it's the right time of year for all of us to grow too. And with the Mindset Pivoter worksheet, we can be a little bit more mindful about where we're going and hopefully be a little bit more awake to notice when, hey, that might be a keeper.
Yeah, May is going to be time to really be mindful. It's going to be challenging to be mindful because you're going to be crosswinds for you. But if you can make it through May with a clear intention, using our 6 practices, you're going to be ready for June and July and August. It's going to smooth out. There'll be a little bit of a spike in the energy. September again, because another 9 month in a 9 century cycle is like, oh, okay. So look forward to September. We'll all be ready and willing for that. Just do what you can to follow that 6-step practice, because that is the key to pivoting your destiny.
That gives me hope, Wes. I love empowered positive change. And no matter how big it is, it may feel huge to, a person. Like when I pivot, it's like, oh, my world is different. And everybody else goes, well, that wasn't anything. But it was huge to me. So realize that it is going to be coming from the inside. And that is going to bring you a lot of joy once you get there.
Yes, if you can get the inside to pivot, the outside will follow suit.
Yay.
That's it.
Well, Wes, thank you.
All right. It's been a good time again. Thanks for connecting, and look forward to seeing it on the internet for everybody to share.
Yes, we will. And you have an excellent week, and we'll see what happens, right? I love surprises.
Yeah, good. See you next week.
You have been listening to the I See Hope podcast. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and iHeartRadio. Visit us online at iseehope.world, where you can subscribe to our podcast, our newsletter, read blog articles, and so much more.